Hi guys, thanks for joining me today. I'm Marilyn and I do all things crafty. But on today's video, I'm going to try my hand using my Glowforge, which is a laser cutter and engraver, and I'm going to try to engrave on this inexpensive cutting board from the Dollar Tree store. Now, shortly after my mom passed, I bought my Glowforge, and one of the first things that I made was this cutting board. Now, this is a recipe of hers, and it was in her own handwriting, so I just scanned it, took it into Procreate, did a little cleanup, and then took it into the Glowforge. So today, I'm going to take this little cutting board. I got this at the Dollar Tree store. Here's what the label looks like, and here it is. It's pretty small, and the first thing that I want to do is measure it. So it's a little bit over 8.5 inches wide. And then 5 7/8 tall. Now my husband would know exactly what the decimal point for 7/8 is, but I don't. So I'm going to go 7 divided by 8. So it's 7.875. Or I'm sorry, 5.875. So that'll be important when I go into my design software. Now, from what I've read, bamboo is very hard to engrave, and that's because it is super, super strong. There's little fibers running all through here, and then there's a lot of glue in there. So I don't expect this to engrave great, but I'm going to give it a shot. Now, I usually mask what I'm engraving, and so I want to do an experiment. I want to mask half of this, and then the other half I just want to engrave without any masking. And the purpose of this masking is that when you're engraving or when you're cutting, sometimes you'll have charring around what you're cutting and engraving. And if you use some masking paper, it'll char the paper, you peel it off, and the wood looks good. Now, if you don't mask and if you have some charring, some people will lightly sand just that very top coat of charring off their wood. But like I said, I'm going to experiment today and see how this comes out. Okay, we're in the Glowforge software. My Glowforge is turned on, so you might hear some background noise from that, and my neighbor's mowing, so you might hear that as well. But we're going to say upload, and then here's this Tim's BBQ 2, and then we'll click upload. Okay, so here it is, and here's a picture of what's on the bed of my Glowforge. So we're going to move this up about to the center of it, and I think that's really way too big. So I'm going to go ahead and make it smaller. Then the first thing I need to do is pick my material. So I'm going to click right here, and then I'm not using materials from Glowforge. So I'm going to say use uncertified material, and then for material thickness, I'm going to use this auto setting. Then I need to go in and enter the speed and the power. So I'll click Enter Settings, and the first thing I need to do is change it to Engrave or select Engrave. And right now, this is just how it came in. It's red. If I did Cut, it would show you where your cut lines are. If I do Engrave, once I start entering settings, it's going to turn blue. Now for my speed, I'm kind of torn on what speed to use. So I think I'm going to try 700 full power, and then because this is just an inexpensive board, I'm going to stay with this 225, and let's see how long that'll take. Engraving takes quite a while, and so that's why I stayed with that lower setting for this inexpensive board. Okay, so you can see, even with those lower settings, it's going to take almost 30 minutes for this one little board. Let me cancel that and just kind of play around with this, make this design a little bit smaller so I can see how much time I gain. So let's hit print, and it's 25 minutes. Okay, my settings might have been a little bit of overkill. I don't know, we'll see. That's what it looks like so far. See all this terrible charring? And that's kind of sticky. This bamboo really has a different outcome than your typical wood. So there wasn't nearly the amount of sticky stuff on that. So let's just see if I can get it cleaned up. But first, I want to pull up this side, the side with the masking, and show you the difference. Some people don't like to mask because it does take extra time. But to me, it's well worth it. Now, when you are having to weed it out of a bunch of small letters like I did on the other cutting board, it's pretty tedious. I should try the trick that some people do. They'll put down like a really strong tape and then pull up and see if the masking paper comes off. I think some type of Gorilla Tape. So there's the difference between masking and not masking. So let's see. First thing I'm going to do is try to clean off some of this with alcohol because it is sticky. I need to get some of that residue off. And then after that, if I need to, I'll take some sandpaper and just lightly sand this. But I will have to wait for it to dry from the alcohol. Now, I would recommend use some actual cloth instead of a paper towel because I'm getting fibers down into the grooves. And I actually think I'm pushing some of that black down into the grooves. So I'm going to take this into the kitchen now and see if I can't wash that off. Okay, so it is still wet. This probably isn't a great idea, but I'm so frustrated now that I'm going to do it anyway. So I'm taking this fine grit sandpaper because I still see a lot of the black here and inside there. That looks real gray now. I don't know, I feel like I'm just pushing it further down into the wood. So here's what I'm going to do, because I want this to look nice for my husband. I'm going to go ahead and use another one. I'll mask the whole thing, and then we'll take the paper off and you'll see the final result. Okay, I changed the design just a little bit. I didn't quite like how smushed it looked, so it's going to look a little bit different, but not much. Now, doesn't that look crisp and clear? So I would always recommend masking when you're doing something on wood. Again, some people don't. I think it makes such a better result. Thanks so much for joining me today, and until my next video, bye-bye. Cool. Oops.